But to cap off all the conversations we've had on the show this morning, we're going to talk about some of what the Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Godfrey Adame, shared yesterday. And it has to do with not hearing frivolous cases in court, just to summarize, and again, televising cases of a national concern. Well, we're joined by our guests this morning who will be giving us some scope to that conversation. I see Lawyer Bobby Banson in the background. Lawyer Bobby Banson will join the conversation. Good morning, lawyer.
Good morning, Ben. How are you?
I'm very well. It's a pleasure having you.
Same here. It's a pleasure to be on your show again.
Okay, so let's set the tone for the conversation. I mean, in the next 7-8 minutes, we'll wrap up. But succinctly, what is your initial reaction to what the Attorney General has been saying? Don't hear these frivolous cases. Don't pay them any mind. Let them be decided in the chambers. And when it comes to cases of a national scope, telecast them in court. What's your take?
Well, with the first part about the court not hearing frivolous cases, it's actually a provision in our Court Act where a court has the jurisdiction to strike out a matter as being frivolous or vexatious. But how that procedure can be adopted, I do not think the Attorney General intended that the court on its own, without giving the parties that opportunity to be heard, whether or not a case is frivolous, can do that in chambers, as it were. So that if I file an action, I mean, nobody would file an action that, in the opinion of that person, is frivolous. Every person will go to court because the person thinks he has a case. Now, it behoves on the other party to raise the issue that, oh, this matter is frivolous or vexatious, and so the court should not even go to the merit of the case. But there's jurisprudence, and the courts have defined what frivolous or vexatious actions would mean.
Right.
And so that if I, for example, if I decide to sue multimedia, then it behoves on multimedia to
hopefully not.
Hopefully not. It behoves on multimedia to bring an application to the court that the matter is frivolous or vexatious. Now, if multimedia does not even bring the application, and the court is of the opinion that the matter is frivolous or vexatious, the court cannot sit in chambers, as it were, loosely, to say that, okay, this matter is frivolous or vexatious, and so we have given an opinion, accordingly the matter is struck out. Right. I think that even if in the opinion of the court, they deem the matter as frivolous or vexatious, they would invite the parties or their counsel to address them on the position that the court has taken.
So basically, you're saying that these cases, no matter how frivolous, no matter how vexatious they may be, they must travel their natural course in court rather than just quash them at the start, because we could get it wrong at some times.
No, they need not travel the natural course.
Okay.
So at the preliminary stage, again, I'm using the word loosely, at the initial stages,
right,
when the writ is filed, a party or the court may on its own raise the issue without going through the merit or going through a trial or the natural course, as you have referred to it as, so that you would have to address the court whether or not the matter is frivolous. So yes, that provision already exists, but how it's been adopted is the problem, because everybody wants his matter to be heard.
Okay, so
the court cannot sit in chambers and without giving the parties the opportunity to be heard on the issue of whether it is frivolous.
All right.
So if the court decides that it or thinks it is frivolous, it must give the parties an opportunity to justify or refute that assertion by the court.
And your point is very clear. I just want your quick take, maybe in less than a minute. When it comes to some matters of a national scope that the AG says must be telecast, so that sometimes we dispel the doubts that people have in their minds. How do you react to that?
I think that, yes, on to some extent, I agree, like we've had with the election petition, but we also know the consequences of it. I mean, the national resources, the attention, the fact that you are opening it to... I think I read his statement. The second part of it is that those who misconstrue the decisions of the court or their post-judgments or post-hearing commentaries scandalize the court should be punished.
Right.
Because there are laws that regulate that. So I think the emphasis, because the reason why he said that was to avoid misconceptions and misrepresentation of the court outcomes or the decisions by the court. And so if there are avenues to punish those who engage in that post-hearing media analysis in a way that scandalizes the court or misrepresents what the court has said, I think that is where we should emphasize on and not necessarily publicizing it. Because if you publicize it, it is English language. People may still misinterpret it. People may still have their own understanding of it. Yes.
Lawyer Bobby Banton, we're pressed for time today. I think we'll find time and do more on this particular subject. Thank you so much for joining us. All right. Do we have Kweku Paintil on the line?
I'm here.
Okay, Kweku, quick one. I'm not going to be fair to you, but in about a minute and a half, what are your quick reactions to these two as put forward by the AG?
I think within the context of what he said, I believe he was speaking with specific reference to the Supreme Court. That's the way I understand what I heard. Is that the case?
Well, partly because we reference cases, the election petition.
There's no such thing as a frivolous case. There's nothing like that.
Right.
It's a misconception. There's no such thing. Somebody loses a case in the High Court, loses in the Court of Appeal, and wins in the Supreme Court.
Exactly.
So from the perspective of those two lower courts, the case was frivolous. And that's the way it goes. And there are the turning fortunes, so forth and so on. So there's no such thing as a frivolous case. If you take what's currently going on in the Supreme Court about what happened last week, in which the Supreme Court gave a ruling, an injunction in favor of one side, the position of the other side is that the case ought not to have commenced at all in the Supreme Court.
Right.
So from their standpoint, the matter is frivolous and vexatious. And therefore, if somebody took that position and that matter was decided at that point, then you take the view that the matter was frivolous. But it takes judges to determine the frivolity of a case. But I think the real issue, if I understand it, is the fact that our courts are inundated with all manner of cases.
Right.
I would say that I would rather that citizens will inundate the court with all manner of cases than to do anything that will frustrate anybody from ventilating his grievance in court. The real issue, as far, for instance, the Supreme Court is concerned, is to have to regulate cases that come to the Supreme Court. In the U.S., for instance, not all cases have the chance or opportunity at all of reaching the U.S. Supreme Court. Cases are selected, at certain levels for consideration of the Supreme Court. Ghana, as a sovereign country, we're entitled also to determine how we want our Supreme Court to function. Because what is happening now is that any case that starts in the district court can end up in the Supreme Court. We have to agree among ourselves as a country how our Supreme Court must function. Whether, for instance, we must create divisions of the Supreme Court to deal with specific matters. Whether, for instance, we must adopt the U.S. approach. Whether, for instance, indeed, there's no end. But it is for us as a country to determine for ourselves how we want our Supreme Court to function.
Okay.
So that's it.
Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but in this short space, you've made some very interesting points, Lawyer Paintil. Thank you so much for joining the conversation. As we wrap, I cannot go without shouting out Catherine Gordon of Catherine Garments, who fitted me out with this wonderful dress. You can reach out to her as well, 0277 580050. She's located in Medina New Road around the Rolling Circle. Happy birthday to Samuel Kwesi Aqua of the Church of Pentecost in Matayeko District. May God bless you immensely and answer all your prayers. May He bless you. It's from your wife and children. And on that very blessing note, we say goodbye to you on the AM show. My name is Benjamin Akako. Have a lovely weekend.